perfectly. So, like I said, a twist I have not seen, a legitimate twist I did not see coming. Probably one of the best in years. And I see a lot of movies, and that's a credit to this because it got me. Usually movies tip it away or give you signs. You do not see what happens here coming at all. What's up, everyone? Jim Alexander here with Real Talker. Yes, I'm reviewing the movie Grace Point. Probably haven't heard much about it. It's because it's an indie, rather smaller one, but some notable actors in it too. So, in terms of quality, nothing small about it, but just not having that huge publicity and all that you would see in movies and stuff. So, more of a grassroots effort to find this movie. But I am here, by the way, he's not naked. Just in case you're wondering, I'm not covering anything up. Uh,
Dad! Brandon, run! Run! Run!
Okay, so what is Grace Point? So it's a drama thriller, um, and it's about a young guy who's on his way to a remote drug rehab with his father, and they kind of make a stop in this strange small town, middle of nowhere, and then shit hits the fan. So he finds himself on the run, uh, running and basically being chased down by some locals, by some tough ass locals who have an out for him and his father. So uh, that's sort of the gist of the story. I don't want to give it away what actually happens because I think it's so worthy of seeing a twist of a decade in this movie. It's honestly, I'm going to get into that. It's got one of the best twists I've seen in a long time. But that's sort of the genesis of what this is. So it follows the young guy is played by someone might know their last name, John Owen Lowe. Yes, Lowe as in Rob Lowe's son. So people are going to say, "Oh, it's nepotism and all that." Uh, this kid gets the job done. Believe me, here he's really good in this film in this role, playing Brandon Hayes, the sort of the guy, a young guy who's going to rehab because he's got a lot of issues going on. Then his father, who's played by Andrew McCarthy, another really credible, established actor here. Both do a good job in this film. The supporting cast is really actually terrific. So we're gonna go with some of these actors here in a bit, but yeah, that's the gist of the story. So he's on the run a lot. He's running away. He's being chased down. He thinks he's gonna get killed by these mean dudes, okay? And these guys you do not want to mess with. And legitimately, credit director here, who I'm going to talk about also, Rory Karp, who's the writer, director on this thing. Rory might be a familiar name for those of you who are fan of sports documentaries, especially the ESPN 30 for 30, or if you watched any of some of the UFC docs. He's been behind many of them. He's executive produced a Ric Flair documentary for ESPN. So he's worked with wrestlers, UFC, ESPN. Some of the a lot of notable docs have been done by this guy, and now he's sort of venturing off into this feature film, independent film category, and he does a hell of a job with it. So credit to Rory for really if if a filmmaker's creative, I feel like you can transcend different realms. You know, you can come from the documentary sports world like he did and jump into the entertainment feature and do a good job if you have a vision, if you have a story to tell, and he clearly does with this. And for those of you who are UFC fans, a lot of familiar UFC names here appear in this movie as sort of supporting actors too. So that's a sort of a cool uh, odd to or O'Day, I don't know what they call it properly, to the UFC world here, which is near and dear to the director Rory here, as you can tell. But we see different sort of it's a guy heavy film. There's a female character that's actually pretty important to the story here, played by Harlan Drum. You might remember her or seeing her from Sweet Magnolias, a really good up and coming young actress to keep an eye out on. But it's mostly sort of a guy story here. And I feel like this men, and I spoke to this in an interview. I've done several interviews about this movie with the cast. With an actor, one of the big supporting actors here, Jim Parrick, another actor that you've seen definitely in a lot of projects here. And he mentioned it's a story for young men, and I kind of see it now after seeing this movie. This is sort of a movie that has a definite message here, and it's a positive message too when you get through it and you understand this movie. But it is sort of intended for young men, and I think that that's a good way of framing it. Young men who are trying to kind of discover themselves and their teenage years to young adult years, maybe going through some troubling times, and as this character does here that Johnny plays, and I think that's a good way of marketing this film, because, like I said, it does have a sort of a pretty important message at the end, and a story about trust and um, sort of who do you trust, trusting yourself, trusting people near you, and learning how to navigate things on your own, even in the dire uh, situations here. So, this film was shot in North Carolina in a rural area, so you get that rawness of it, and I like that. They are on set, on location, and it's pretty a lot of sort of gritty places. They're up in the hills and in the forest, near the water, a river. All these sort of things happen. On a farm. So I like the setting of this movie. It feels very authentic and gritty and sort of fitting to the basically it's a character. The location here and setting is a character of this film, which is a nice sort of addition to the story here too. Now, actor-wise, I mentioned John Owen Lowe does a really good job. I was actually wasn't aware of him, but he's one of the writers on his dad's show, 911. So that's sort of a nice connection there that he's not only a writer, but he's an actor too. So yeah, 911 Lone Star, he's one of the staff writers there too. And he's a creator of Unstable to a TV series. So check him out. A talented guy, John Owen Lowe. But some of the other actors here you're going to see that I wanted to highlight. Jim Parrick, who plays Cutter, who's this sort of influential character in the film. Um, a man that's dealing with his own sort of past and issues and demons, but also sort of a guiding light um, when Brandon Hayes, Johnny's character, meets him. Really done well. Sort of a a good job here by Jim, who's done a lot of different stuff. He was in Suicide Squad. Um, so if you remember him from there, but he's done a lot of different work too. So check him out. But credit to his character, really sort of um, the key to this movie in a lot of ways. I feel like he's that while Johnny plays the sort of the star of the film, I think Jim's character here is the vital one here, and he does a great job. Another one to give a shout out to is Sean Kerrigan, who plays Luther Stone, sort of the bad guy. And we see it very imposing, intimidating. Sean, hell of an actor. Wasn't too familiar with him. He's done a lot of work on it. He worked for a lot of years on Young and the Restless, so my mom would be more familiar, but really impressed with his work here. Plays a really good, sort of intimidating, no nonsense, hard ass bad guy. But is he really truly bad? You'll find out when you watch this movie. But I think Sean does a great job playing the intimidator. He looks intimidating. He's got a sense of being a real badass and not like a fake tough guy. He seems like he is one. And now the fun part here too. I mentioned Harlan Drum, also. rising young actress here to keep an eye out on. But the fun part for me, being a fan of these guys, was to see Dean Thomas from the UFC, former UFC fighter and coach, Aljamain Sterling, currently a fighter at the UFC, at a very high level fighter, former champion. Uh, Chris Weidman, also a major name, a potential Hall of Famer there in the UFC, who just recently retired, and he's done some films. And James Storm, a wrestler from Impact slash TNA Wrestling, for those of you who watched wrestling, one of the bigger professional companies, also had some time in the WWE. So James Storm also appears sort of the lackeys, the henchmen for the character of Luther that Sean plays. So it's kind of cool to see these true actual badasses. They don't do much talking or anything like that. They sort of play the imposing, tough guys and henchmen, and very believable. So great casting by Rory there, bringing actual UFC fighters to fight to play tough guys, and definitely was. So if you're in Johnny's character here, Brandon, you have legitimately a tough guy here in Sean Kerrigan. You have Aljo Sterling. You have Dean Thomas. You have James Storm. All these guys are after you. This is not a good situation to be in. Legitimately can believe why you'd be intimidated by that. And also credit Johnny for taking a lot of bumps. And by that, what I mean, obviously on a project like this, you don't have much. You don't have stunt guys or anything like that. So, he took some hits here. You can see a lot of falls, a lot of kind of pushing around and by these legit, real tough guys. So credit to him for taking the bumps here. Like I said, committed performance. I really don't have much to negatively say about this movie. I thought it was just so well done. And yeah, I might be biased because I'm a fan of certain these fighters and these performers here, and I got to talk to them and really see what it took to make this movie. But yeah, granted, I enjoyed this film, so I'm biased in that sense, and I don't give a damn because I liked it, and that's the whole point of me doing this review, for you to check it out. But really, for what this movie is, for the budget, the quick turnaround. Sometimes we don't give credit to movies about how they were made. This movie was done in a few weeks. So when you keep that in perspective, when you watch it, there's a lot that needs to come together to put a movie, and it looks great. It really does not look like a low budget indie by any means. It has uh, a good look to it. Obviously, was shot in the elements. The acting stacks up, and strong supporting cast is a key to this movie. I feel like these characters, played by Jim Parrick and Sean Kerrigan, really add a lot of legitimacy because these are seasoned actors that know what they're doing, and it's cool how Rory kind of paired maybe the lesser experienced guys, the UFC guys, with a Sean, and then have John Owen, sort of an emerging talent on screen now. With Jim Parrick in scenes, and Andrew McCarthy, who are established, legitimate, solid working actors, and then Harlan Drun here, sort of playing that, female character that's the only one that really we see much of in a movie. There's a few other ones we see, but she's sort of the main one here, and she carries her own. Someone who's still new to the game in a sense too. Although she's been a regular in Sweet Magnolia, so if you're into that show on Netflix, definitely she's recognizable there. Really, I enjoy this movie in so many ways, but the best thing about it is the twist and the turn towards the end. It is the best twist, that I've seen in a movie since the game, and that's what I'm talking about. That Sean Penn, Michael Douglas movie back in the early 2000s. It's that good of a twist in a sense where you don't see this coming at all. What happens here? It makes sense. It's not a twist just to do a twist, just for shock surprise. No, it's the buildup of the movie that leads to a twist, and then it sort of highlights what this story's about. And the story does have a message, and it does have actually a positive message too underneath it. So credit to Rory really putting this together. Visually and just script wise, where it makes sense. There's a beginning point, a middle point and an end point and all makes sense ultimately, and with a very creative twist that makes you appreciate the lead up to it. Yeah, a little bit in the beginning it might be turn off. I guess the one negative I could say is that, it's like, oh, where's the story going? It's just like, yeah, this kid's on a run. Why is he in this town? Why are these people after him? Like, this all kind of doesn't make sense. It's so random. His father gets attacked. Like, okay, they're clearly you can tell they're richer than they're not from the area, so maybe they're a natural target. But like it just too much for why would they care to hunt this kid and hunt him down? But it all makes sense later on. So if you stick through it, it all fits together perfectly. So, like I said, a twist I have not seen, a legitimate twist I did not see coming. Probably one of the best in years. And I see a lot of movies, and that's a credit to this because it got me. Usually movies tip it away or give you signs. You do not see what happens here coming at all. And I think that's what makes this movie really cool and fun and interesting too, that it got me. And to get me is kind of tough because, like I said, I've seen a lot of things and we just get conditioned as sort of movie watchers to see sort of twists or things that are, could happen. And this one, no way. Like I said, since the game was the last really truly surprising movie that caught me completely off guard, and we're talking about 20 plus years. So this one would be best twists in decades here. No joke. I legitimately believe that. So well done. Grades. Okay. Obviously, I'm going to be recommending this. So terms of acting, out of 10, like I said, really strong supporting cast makes up for some of the actors here, maybe with not as much experience or sort of newer to the game, but that's how you build a good roster of actors in sense in sports terms. If you have a rookie quarterback, you want to surround him with veterans who have done it and been there, accomplished veterans, to kind of help the process out here. And that's what Rory did. He placed some of the maybe lesser experience with the more experienced actors here in scenes, and it just works because they hold it down and it makes everyone look good. So, like I said, a lot of working actors here that have been accomplished and been a lot of projects and really deliver in these performances. And especially kudos to Sean Kerrigan and then Jim Parrick here, in addition to Johnny Lowe. So, acting wise, 7.5 out of 10, very solid, nothing to complain about. Of course, we're not going to be handing out actor Oscars here, but 7.5 is a really solid, good score. Entertainment wise, I'd give it an 8. Um, yes, at some points it might be kind of wondering why is this happening? Is it too cliche and all that? But this movie's constantly moving. There's a lot of action. You're literally on the run with Johnny's character here, and so the adrenaline's pumping. You're sort of trying to figure out what's going to happen to this kid, and why are these people after him? So it keeps you engaged, and I feel like it didn't let up. There was no like snooze-worthy moments here. It keeps it interesting. So 8 out of 10 for entertainment. Now, in terms of the plot and story, where this is a little bit of slower burn. The twist comes later in the movie. It's not one of those twists that comes in the middle. It sort of comes at the climax of the movie towards the end. So it's like if you stayed for the ride, enjoy the ride, you get that big payoff and that OMG, holy shit, shocking moment. And the wow, sort of like I was like a gasp, like literally that was my face when I found out what had just happened and the reveal happened. So but it takes a while. So 7.5 out of 10 for the plot story. um just because it's a slower burn, but you don't want that big twist to be given up early on too. Okay, impression. I think this is an important part. What does this movie make you feel and think, and what does it accomplish? And I think it really accomplished what it set out to, and it's a 10 out of 10 here because this movie has a message. It follows it. It doesn't deter. It doesn't sort of cheat you or mislead you in any way. And it's an important message ultimately, and that you can take of it too. So this character is sort of, as I put it, not only is he running from these big, tough, bad guys that are chasing him down and want to, kill him potentially, but he's running away from himself and his own issues and his own addiction too. And I think that kind of comes true later and it leaves that impression. But like I said, if that twist, that's an impression enough worthy of a 10. Uh, just phenomenal. I was really impressed by it. So 10 out of 10 on impression and creativity. I'm not veering off on that too. Very creative. You can structure a movie to follow that and it all makes sense and you have this big twist, not just for the sake of having a twist, but it makes sense because it puts the whole thing together and it wraps it up and it ties it up really nicely and puts the message out there that you're trying to achieve. It's a success. It's creative filmmaking, really is, and creative writing to get to that point. And the actors do the job. They're the vessels for this film and the script. And like I said, it keeps you engaged until that very final scenes there that really reveal what was going on and why. And it's a shock factor. So creativity, definitely creative. 10 out of 10 for Rory on that one. So overall, we're looking here at a really good movie and a score of 86% out of 100. So it's a highly recommended movie. Like I said, it's an indie. It's going to be out on VOD. So make sure you go find it. Uh, and Yeah, Grace Point. It's an interesting name too. Keep that in mind when you're watching that point. The name, even the title, makes sense, and that's what you always want from a movie, for it to make sense, right? Not just to take you on this journey with twists and turns and then nothing making sense just for the sake of it. No, everything's calculated here and does make sense. So really impressed. Didn't know what to expect. Had no expectations for it. Just thought it was like, okay, another indie. I'm gonna give it a shot, and was pretty much blown away by it in many ways. By the shock factor and the quality too, and a lot of new interesting actors that I'm gonna be now looking out for from seeing this movie. So and a filmmaker here in Rory. Um, that's 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 got potential for sure to be doing uh entertainment sort of features, not only just sports docs, which he's been really good at and has nailed. So yeah, check out Grace Point, highly recommended. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe. Uh, I love it when you guys subscribe, so it helps me out. Just takes one click, so why not? And thumbs up, like it. If you like this review, give that thumbs up. That also tips off others to check it out. And of course, if you are interested in this movie, you've seen it, might be seeing it, plan on seeing it, are a fan of any of these actors or maybe the director himself, leave a comment and once you see it, let me know what you thought. Am I overblowing this whole twist? I thought it was one of the best in decades. I really did. Like I said, I've seen a lot of movies, and when left me surprised, I think it accomplished at least personally something. So that's why I hold it in pretty high regard here. And the people in here are pretty cool people too, that are in this movie. So yeah, leave a comment, and until next time, check out Grace Point. I'll have another review and all this other stuff. So when you're subscribed, you know what's coming up. And like I said, there's going to be interviews with the cast and director of this film too. So if you're interested in delving in deeper and hearing some behind the scenes stories, offset, onset, check those out too, because I guarantee you they're going to be interesting and fun. And UFC fans, this is something for you to see, 100%. A lot of UFC crossover involvement here. So check it out. Grace Point is the movie. Very big winner of early in the first month of 2025 here. It's a movie to keep an eye out and check out. All right, I'm out. Until next time. See ya. I'm Jim.
Welcome to Grace Point.